Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's bonus, shall we? Alright, so we are going to start today's bonus off with a video clip. Also, I contemplated on putting a bonus out because I didn't want it to overshine or override the notification for today's first video in regards to Mark, his twin brother, and his best friend, and their horrific incident at a location called Times Beach, Missouri. If you guys haven't checked that video out, it is probably one of the most horrific experiences that I've ever shared on this channel. And it's truly a connector. It really does connect puzzle pieces, and just a horrific experience.
Are you ready for one?
Yeah. Jeez.
They need to be a little bit lighter. Actually wiped out.
Today's first encounter. I'm still 18, so this wasn't that long ago. I was nervous to share this, but my friends that were with me during this encouraged me to do so. So this is our encounter with the werewolf/dogman of Talladega National Forest. I live in Alabama, and it was a few weeks before my 18th birthday, and being the nature lover that I am, my friends Aiden and Maggie invited me to go to Talladega Forest for an early birthday present, and of course I said yes, with my mother's permission. My friends and I are very outdoorsy people. I met them near the park we always met at for our midday adventures, hopped in Aiden's truck, and we began our drive for what seemed like forever. When we got to the campgrounds, everything was normal, people chatting, laughing. We found our camping space away from all of the other people, since Aiden, Maggie, and myself are not the most sociable people. Maggie and I made the tent up, since we all had decided to sleep in the same tent, while Aiden went and looked for firewood. After the day had gone by, everything still seemed pretty normal, so we put the fire out and nodded off. The following morning we went and fished, but something seemed slightly off. There was no sound, no frogs, birds, nothing. I have high paranoia, and Aiden knew this, and him being a jerk decided it'd be fun to mess with my paranoia. He told us he was going back to get some snacks. We continued fishing, catching very little, just some brim and some catfish. Maggie got worried because Aiden had been gone for a few hours, leaving me alone. My paranoia started setting in far worse. Aiden had jumped out of the brush a few feet from me, making me shriek. I called him a jerk and got up to leave. Maggie caught me walking back to our campsite and asked what was wrong. I glared at her and nodded my head to where we were fishing, and she laughed. It didn't help but feel that she was in on it, so I ran back to the tent and sat in there. So much for a birthday present, right? When they got back, the sun had already been setting. I was playing games on my phone. Aiden apologized for scaring me and tossed me a bag of chips. We cooked and ate what we had caught, nodded off. Another remotely normal day. The following morning is when it got weird. We opened our tent to the campsite being destroyed, our packs being shredded, our cooler knocked over, and what looked like claw marks in them. I wondered how we could have slept through all this. Aiden suggested that it was maybe a black bear, but Maggie protested. If it was hungry, it would have targeted the tent as well. We all shrugged it off and started out hiking in the woods for the day. It didn't have a trail where we were walking again today. There were no sounds, nothing, not even the birds. Maggie suddenly gasped and started walking away quickly. Aiden looked over and tried to shield what Maggie had seen from me. I pushed him aside and froze. It was a freshly killed deer. It had gashes on its neck. Its stomach had been torn open. Aiden pulled me away and we started heading back to camp. I had been silent the whole time, Aiden holding my wrist, knowing how I am when I'm in shock. I finally shuddered out that poor deer. What could have done that to it and just left it there like that? Maggie looked back and suggested a bear. Quickly, Aiden denied with, "Bears just don't leave the meal like that." We got back to the campsite, and for the rest of the day I sat in the tent puzzled and sick. Maggie and Aiden were arguing outside for hours about what we had seen. They returned to the tent looking at me while I was still in shock. Aiden suggested we go to sleep. I didn't sleep. I just sat up in my sleeping bag, listening to the sounds, but guess what? There were none, not even the wind. Suddenly a loud howl broke in the silence. It shook me. I held my breath listening, and again, but louder, and more an angry howl. I could hear walking in the woods around us. Aiden touched my shoulder. I jumped, and he shushed me. He was looking at the side of the tent, and I noticed what he was looking at. A shadow that I could only describe as Professor Lupin's movement in Harry Potter. We peeked out of the tent flap a little, and we saw it. A massive, black, wolf-like creature not far from our tent. Maggie woke up and asked loudly, "What the hell are you making so much noise for?" Aiden quickly grabbed her mouth, but it was too late. The creature, as I'm going to call it, heard her and was making its way to our tent. We could now hear it barreling through the woods. We definitely couldn't get away. Aiden grabbed his pistol, which he had stolen from his dad. I didn't question it at all that time, since it was the only means of protection we had beside my hunting knife. He stood out of the tent and fired a warning shot. It stunned the creature, as it seemed to have never had that happen. Aiden yelled, trying either to scare it or be Mr. Badass for the two girls. It let out this deep, guttural growl as it stood on its hind legs, easily towering over Aiden. This scared us, since Aiden's easily 6'2", definitely not a small guy. He yelled at us to run to his truck while it seemed focused on him. We did, as he said, but I kept looking back, watching him try and scare this beautiful creature. It wasn't long before we heard another shot and a loud, pained howl. Maggie and I only assumed Aiden had shot the creature. We heard something running through the forest, and we were preparing for the worst. Aiden busted out of the woods and yelled to get in. We piled into the truck, me crying that we were going to die. Of course, Aiden's truck wouldn't start, which worried us. Maggie screamed, and we looked where she was looking. The creature's face was pressed against the side window, its yellow eyes piercing through our souls as it seemed to breathe. Its breath was fogging up the window. I yelled at Aiden, saying all you did was make it even more mad for even shooting at it. He glared at me, grumbling that now wasn't the time to be animal lovers. This dogman werewolf creature banged its hands on the truck window, going around the truck trying to find a way in. Finally, the truck started. Aiden floored it, and it startled the beast. Maggie's still freaking out, watching behind us, yelling to drive. Faster, it's chasing us. Aiden sped up, and I turned around to get one more look at it. I was amazed that this was happening to me, but at the same time terrified that it was happening to me. The drive home was long and tiring. We didn't speak about it anymore until a few weeks ago, when I suggested sharing our experience. Aiden encouraged me, and Maggie protested that no one was going to believe us. So that's our experience with the Talladega Dogman / werewolf. Thank you for listening. I hope nobody has to go through this, but from what I hear, many people do. This world has so many mysteries, and I hope I have no more encounters like this. Today's second national park terrifying experience. I'm a 22-year-old male, and this all started on a road trip through the national parks out west. My friend, 22-year-old male too, and I wanted a fun way to celebrate graduating from college, especially after a crazy year getting sent home during our final semester due to COVID and graduating online. We hoped that some fresh air would rejuvenate us before the real world, adult life, and our jobs. We had all decided to meet at our favorite bar near our college for one final drink to reminisce about the great times we had had. We drove around the eerie, empty campus. There wasn't a soul in sight. This probably should have just been a sign for us to cancel, as the pandemic certainly wasn't showing signs of stopping, but we ignored it. We were just simply too excited. About 160 miles into the trip, we ran into our first of many problems. The car began to overheat. Now, don't get me wrong, it was a newer BMW, so we didn't think that anything like this was going to happen, but German cars will be German cars. We took it to an auto shop and got it fixed in a couple of hours, as it was an easy coolant leak. It just needed a new hose. This was another sign that we all chose to overlook. Oh, how I wish we would have just cut our losses and gone home at this point. Nevertheless, we trekked on, going another few hundred miles without any issues. We were all excited, singing our favorite songs, playing random apps to pass time, and judging random girls on Tinder that we matched with along the way. However, it was around St. Louis that we would run into our second problem, a flat. Once again, we ignored this sign and pulled into a random tire shop, got it fixed, and we were on our way once again. After 2 days of driving, we finally reached Denver. We saw this as a great point to stop for the day and enjoy the city. While it was still pretty much shut down, we still made the most of our time there. We then continued the next day, hoping to reach Yellowstone by night, but would run into another big issue. We popped yet another tire, and once again we were near a city, Casper, Wyoming, so we were able to get it fixed quickly and continue our trip to the next day. This should have been the final straw. We should have turned back. We had already blown through most our budget just from fixing the car. However, we thought, we've already made it this far, and what else can go wrong? Oh, how we were wrong. We pulled into our campsite the next day. We eagerly set up our tents and went on a quick hike. Somehow, we were the only ones at our campsite, as people were still afraid of the pandemic. At the time, we saw this as a massive plus because it meant we could get as drunk and as rowdy as we wanted that night. And as the sun set, that's exactly what we did. However, something felt off this whole time. You know that feeling when you walk in the woods late at night and you just feel like you're not alone? Like someone or something is watching you. Like you don't belong there and you are an intruder on someone else's property. That's exactly how I felt the entire time. So, while my friends were getting blasted, I built a big fire as I could, hoping to give myself a false sense of safety to ease my anxiousness. Once I finished, however, the feeling of dread washed over me. I had never felt so scared in my entire life, and it came out of nowhere without any explanation. I decided to call it a night after this, hoping that I could just sleep it off while my friends carelessly drank and played loud music that echoed throughout the valley. I was able to fall asleep until around 3:40 when I was awoken by something scratching the ground outside of our tent. I quickly woke up my friend, asking WTF was that. He groggily told me that it's probably a bear because they had left some garbage on the ground. I went back to sleep foolishly trusting my friend's explanation. I would wake up a couple more times before the sun rose, hearing more noises throughout the early morning. When all were awoke, we got out of the tent to find the enormous scratch marks all over the ground surrounding our tent. It looked like they had been formed a big circle around our tent, and these were no ordinary marks. They were made up of 3 distinct lines going nearly 2 inches into the dry dirt. My friends decided once again to blame a bear, despite the trash being left alone and no visible tracks. While this spooked me, I know that we were all larger guys and armed with knives. We all brought them for this trip as a joke in case we ran into Bigfoot, but that's a story for another time. We continued our day, like the one before, going on a long trek throughout the park, enjoying our last full day there before moving on to the next. I have no idea why we did this, and I really wish we hadn't, but before going to bed that night, we jokingly made Bigfoot calls to lure back whatever creature had bothered us the night before. We scurried back into the tent and got into our sleeping bags the way little kids do when they know they're not supposed to be up during a sleepover and hear that parent coming down the stairs. Anyway, the forest seemed particularly loud as we were trying to go to sleep. So many different bugs, little animals rustling through the brush nearby. It all seemed normal. However, I woke up around 1:45 to something very different. The entire forest had gone silent. I had heard that when the woods go silent, a predator's nearby. I always chalk this up as being a bear from the night before paying us yet another visit, hoping to catch a glimpse of this bear. I slowly unzipped the door with my flashlight aimed toward the woods. That's when I saw it. Oh, how this image still haunts me to this day. Standing only 10 feet away from our tent was this massive, pale creature on all fours. It had to have been around 4.5, 5 feet tall. It had these grossly long arms with 3 sharp claws. To put it into perspective, one of its hands, in quotations, was next to a Bud Light bottle, and the claw was the same size. Thankfully, it was facing away at the time, so I quickly turned off my flashlight and re-zipped the tent. I silently woke up my friends and whispered what was going on. As they slowly woke up, obviously none of them believed me, so they reached for their lights and reopened the door of the tent. Standing there, now 5 feet from the tent, was that creature. This is when we saw its eyes. They were huge, black eyes. It felt like they were looking right through us, right through our souls. It stood there silently, almost as if it was sizing us up, determining if we were worth the effort. Full of fear, one of my friends made a quick movement to grab his knife, and the creature made this blood-curdling screech, revealing razor-sharp teeth. It leapt our tent, landing on top, crushing us below. It began wildly scratching at it, tearing apart our tent in a mad fury. We scrambled to get out of the way, we could hoping to escape our certain death. A friend and I were able to squeeze through the cuts in the tent, while the other two were stuck in the tent under the crushing weight of this thing. My friend and I knew that we would have to get the creature away from the tent if we wanted our friends to survive. I quickly ran to a nearby dead fire and grabbed one of the few sticks still lit in hopes of scaring it off. I sprinted at the creature, looking like a wild man with a torch. However, this only seemed to startle it. It took a few steps off the tent and then stopped, almost as if it was gathering itself to attack once more. My two friends, still stuck in the tent, took this opportunity to get out of there. Likely wouldn't be another chance. We all ran for the car as fast as we could, not looking back as we slammed the door shut behind us. Right as the last door shut, we felt this creature slam into the trunk of the SUV, shaking the entire car. It rammed the car a few more times before starting to circle it, staring us down. Luckily, my friend had left his keys in the car because we had been the only ones at the campsite, so we were able to start it quickly. This allowed us to get a better view of this creature's off-white skin reflecting LED lights back at us. It was then when the scariest part of the whole experience happened. The creature slowly approached my door, taking cautious step after cautious step. I quickly locked the door and cowered in fear with my other friend in the back seat. As it got closer, it began looking directly at the handle. It slowly reached out its arm and stuck its claw between the handle and the door, almost as if it had opened car doors before. It tried to pull the handle multiple times, getting angrier with each failed attempt. Luckily, at this moment, my friend, who had been paralyzed with fear, snapped out of it and put the car in drive and floored it. We have never seen anyone drive that fast in our lives. We zipped through the roads as fast as we could, not even checking the rear view mirror to see if that thing was chasing us. We finally stopped once we made it to Cody, Wyoming, needing to fill up the tank, as we were running very low after such intense driving. We got out to look at the damage, specifically the rear. The entire back hatch had been dented several inches. I think this is when we realized how close this creature was to killing us inside the car. One more hit and that trunk door would have fallen off, giving it access to 4 tasty humans trapped in an aluminum can. We eventually made it back to our campus, where we split up and went our separate ways. I think my friend told his parents that the truck had pulled a hit and run or something to explain the damage, but we all knew we couldn't tell anyone about our experiences, or we'd be called liars and crazies. This was something that continues to haunt me to this day, and is why I'll never visit a national park again as long as I live. Take this experience as a warning to avoid them unless you want to come face to face with a creature like this. Today's third national park experience. I'm from a small town in southwest Arkansas called Folk, famous for the Boggy Creek Monster. The monster is a Sasquatch who in the 70s allegedly terrorized my hometown and the surrounding area, which spawned the documentary The Legend of Boggy Creek. I've sadly never seen this large ape-like wonder, but have seen first-hand evidence of it, and far worse monsters out in the swamps and hills my family and I have hunted for our entire lives. There are thousands of stories I could tell here, but the one that bothers me the most, the reason I no longer feel safe in the backwoods of my own hometown, began in an evening when I was 15. Where we live, despite that wildlife officials of any form will admit, there are numerous large and deadly animals. A razorback boar can gore a man's leg deep enough to cripple them or kill them if it gets you on the ground. Gators can grow to just about any length, and the only thing they fear are a bigger gator. And then there are the panthers. We have heard and witnessed panthers kill and haul a calf weigh well over double their size straight up a tree and gnawing at it for days. They scream like a terrified woman and can move silently through the brush, or outright overtake almost anything. Quite frankly, they unnerve me, but what I found on my own deer lease close to a decade ago has shook me ever since. I've never walked those woods unarmed, and I never shall. I'm a pretty big guy, 200 pounds, maybe more, 6'2" easily. While hunting, I carry a Winchester 7mm, a Taurus Judge revolver loaded with buck, or my homemade rounds, a kukri for brush or emergencies. Nothing, I believed, could stand back up from a straight round from my rifle, but whatever the heck this was, didn't even notice it. I followed what I thought to be a hog trail up a hill near the distant stand we used during the second day of deer season. I had never seen such an easy game trail in my life, and to be honest, I was relieved as I only had about an hour of daylight left. Then I found the blood, not much, but enough to know something hurt. I could physically see the signs of a poor thing being gobbled along with bits of tissue and sizable amounts of blood coating the ground every few feet. I hit the crest of the hill, and at the bottom I found what I thought was going to be a leg, a mangled and bloody stump, lie there alone. It died right there, I deduced from the blood around, as it was far more than I thought any hog could even have. Worse still, the kill was fresh, with steam coming off its severed end of the remains. The hog's tracks and blood showed less than 2 hours, and it had to be more than 100 pounds. I fired my rifle in the air twice to signal for help. Then I searched the area. Whatever it was, the poor animal did not put up a fight, and the thing that killed it did not leave a single trace. I found a small blood trail leading off from the area and left something personal there to clue the others. By this point, I had half an hour of daylight left, so I used my kukri to mark a tree every few feet as I walked. Within 10 minutes, I found the rest of the boar, though it was not alone. Dozens of bodies were there, ranging from deer, pig, cattle, dog, panther. The cat's decapitated head sat in the center as all the gore and carcasses were strewn around in a sick display. Remembering it as I am now, I make the joke that it was a garden, a crimson garden made in the deepest parts of the woods where no man should be foolish enough to wander. Suddenly I heard a noise and snapped out of it, my horror-stricken state. I chambered around and caught a glimpse. It was thin, pale, grayish white skin. Its eyes were black. It had long claws that were still dripping from the hog's entrails. It tucked behind a tree and appeared 10 feet closer without making a sound. It was like it just materialized right there 20 feet from me. I didn't give it a chance to close and put a round right through its chest, and I say through because I saw no blood, no hole, just a muzzle flash, and the damn thing flinched. I know I hit it at 20 feet, but I fired another round just in case. It grinned. I kid you not. Another 7mm Magnum round leaves anything standing at that range, much less smirking. Its howl eyes stared at me. Big razor-toothed smile jutted across. That was easily twice as big as a man's, and then it moved. I can see the thing in my nightmares even now, so when I say its movements were unnatural, I mean it. It shuffled. I think is the word. Forward with a strange posture, its arms almost double the length of a man, though he stood as tall with legs being like canine in nature. It moved awkwardly while walking on its feet and knuckles. I dropped my rifle and reached for my sidearm, but it was in arm's reach before I could blink. I felt piss soak my pants. I knew it. This was it. I was going to be backwoods art project for some demonic creature. That's when I heard a shotgun from behind me, to the right. My father, my uncle, and a close family friend had been nearby wondering where I was when they heard the shots. They opened fire on this thing with 2 hunting rifles and a shotgun at point-blank range. It didn't show a single wound. It just turned to face them and then back at me, smiling. After that, it bolted away and vanished into the woods. My dad helped me up and looked me dead in the eyes, saying something, but my mind couldn't process it. There was no going back to camp that night. I was in the pickup truck and on my way home for 2 hours. When we made it back to town, I was finally recovering from shock. My dad and my uncle sat down to talk once we got home, and I cleaned up. These men were veteran, special forces, yet still looked so pale. My dad gave me a cup of coffee and said that none of the rest of the people I know on this earth need to know that it's there. He knew a game warden, and they would take care of things. As far as what I saw, he only had this to say: "Your great-grandpa knew the Indians that lived in these parts, and they used to warn us of evil spirits. Your grandpa wouldn't hunt anymore because of something he saw as a young man. I have seen men die firsthand, and yet something I saw near when I was lost still wakes me up at night. All of us haven't seen things we can't explain. I got lucky and didn't lose my son tonight. So, you take as long as you need to talk about it." The next day, 30 armed men, including a preacher, scoured those woods as my dad picked up our gear and told them where he had seen this thing last. Officials bought and closed off the land without saying a word to anyone. It all disappeared, and after a few months of therapy, I was doing well. Now that I'm a father myself, neither of my boys nor I go into the woods alone, because I personally know somewhere out there that something is waiting, and I'll be damned if my son is the next victim. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support, after all, that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.